As of right now, almost 49,000 people have died of the coronavirus in the United States so far. That's approaching the total of American servicemen killed during Vietnam. But unlike Vietnam, the death toll from this pandemic is not spread evenly across the country. Coronavirus deaths are still clustered in a strikingly small number of places. Look at the numbers. A pattern emerges. Only 9 states out of 50 as of right now have recorded more than 1,000 deaths from the virus. Close to half of all deaths nationwide have occurred in just 2 states, New York and New Jersey. New York has recorded 15,302 deaths. New Jersey, about a third of that, 5,063. After New York and New Jersey, the death totals per state declined dramatically. You would not necessarily expect that to happen. New York and New Jersey do have very dense urban areas, but they're not the biggest states in the country by population. In fact, New York is 4th on that list. New Jersey is 11th. Our 3 biggest states have been relatively lightly touched. California, which is by far the largest, has seen just 1,268 deaths out of a population of nearly 40 million. Texas, number 2, has had only 517 deaths. Florida, 867. Now, for perspective, about 4,000 Americans die every year from choking on their meals. So why is this happening? Or more precisely, in so many places, why is it not happening? Why are the numbers so skewed toward the urban Northeast? The answer is nobody's really sure, but we should try and find out. If half of all Americans killed in Vietnam came from New York and New Jersey, we'd probably take a close look at how we were conducting the draft. There must be a reason the proportions are this distorted. We ought to figure out what it is, and let's hope we do. But for now, what's clear is that this virus is concentrated, not simply in a handful of states, but in a small number of places, especially southern New York, in and around New York City, and northern New Jersey, particularly the counties from which people commute into New York City. Possibly because these are also the places where most of our national media figures live, the pandemic often seems like a nationwide disaster. It definitely is a disaster, no question about that. Many people have died, and many will continue to die, sadly. But as a factual matter, the virus itself hasn't yet been a nationwide killer. In some states, it has barely happened. In Nebraska, 38 people have died so far. In Arkansas, 43. New Mexico, 65. Idaho, 51. Vermont, 40. In Oregon, a state of more than 4 million people with a couple of dense urban areas, including Portland, the total death toll tonight is 79. This is very good news and unexpected. We expected the virus would sweep across our country. It has not done that. Washington State, where the first confirmed carrier of the disease arrived from China, has seen fewer than 700 people die. We did not anticipate that. The bad news is many of these barely affected states are still suffering under strict lockdowns. Consider Maine. Maine has the oldest population of any state in America. The median age there is 45. More than a fifth of the state is over 65. Based on what officials have repeatedly told us, you would expect that Maine would be devastated by this virus. Yet as of tonight, a total of only 44 people there have died from it. Far more people in Maine have been killed or injured hitting moose in the past 5 years. Yet last month, Governor Janet Mills panicked and ordered Maine residents to stay in their homes. As she later explained in a radio address, if you love your family, you will obey.
This virus will continue to sicken people across our state and our country. Our cases will grow, and unfortunately, more people will die. If you love your neighbor, your family, if you love this state as I do, please don't travel. Stay healthy. Stay home.
Nearly a month after she ordered the state to stay home, fewer than 50 people in Maine have died. And at some point, Governor Mills is going to be asked about this, and she will almost certainly try to take credit for the low death toll. She'll claim her lockdown saved countless lives. The problem is she doesn't know that that's true, and there's evidence it isn't. South Dakota didn't lock down at all. Only 9 people have died there. But in the meantime, Maine families have been destroyed by Mills's decision. In the past 5 weeks, more than 100,000 people in the state have filed for unemployment. That's nearly 10% of the entire population. That includes women, children, the elderly, men working, not everybody. It's been a complete disaster. Maine's economy has long been fragile. It will not recover from this for years, if it ever does recover. So did Janet Mills make a wise decision when she shut down her state? If you think she did, please explain what other communicable diseases we should respond to by causing mass unemployment. You could ask the same question in West Virginia. 31 people have died there so far. Or Montana. Montana's death toll tonight is 14. So maybe the lesson of all of this is not every place in America is the same. Not everywhere is New York or New Jersey. The threat to rural America from this virus is minuscule. So why are we punishing the people who live outside the cities? It seems mindless and cruel, which is to say it's perfectly consistent with this political moment. If this pandemic was disproportionately hurting rural America, would we respond the same way? If towns in Maine like Rumford and Andover and Buckfield were highly infected with the coronavirus, would Bill de Blasio shut down Midtown Manhattan in response? Would the media demand that he do that? Would the professional class in our cities change their lives at all? Would they even notice it was happening? We don't have to guess about this. We know the answer to it because something very similar has already happened. It is happening. Companies based in America's cities, as well as in mainland China, have flooded rural America with narcotics. Over a 5-year period, one pharma company, McKesson, shipped almost 100 million doses of opioid painkillers to the state of West Virginia. McKesson sent more than 1 million of those pills to a single county in West Virginia, a county with a total population of fewer than 25,000 people. By the end, predictably, West Virginia had the highest drug overdose rate in America. This was a man-made epidemic, and it's still raging. That epidemic has killed far more Americans than the Wuhan coronavirus has or will. But how many times have you seen that story on the Today Show? How many questions about it were Democratic candidates forced to answer during last fall's debates? Not so many. What's been happening to rural America, people who live there for the past 30 years, has been an unprecedented disaster. It's been a mass human tragedy. Unfortunately, as far as our leaders are concerned, these are the wrong people. They don't really count. That's one thing we've definitely learned in the last month.